Žmogus turi prigimtinę teisę į liūdesį, melancholiją ir kitas emocijas, o ne į vien šiais socialinių tinklų laikais įkyriai demonstruojamą laimę. Tuo įsitikinęs velsietis menininkas ir meno filosofijos dėstytojas Ianas Damerel, visą emocijų spektrą jaukiai išgyvenantis Lietuvoje.
Someone help me please. Show me just a little love. Put your arms around my waist. Kiss me on the face. That kind of love, it was too much, more than we could bear. I should have known with that first touch. I should have known right then.
Gitara ir kūryba velsiečiui Ianui Damerel padėjo išgyventi karantiną Lietuvoje. Vizualiųjų menų kūrėjas, rašytojas, muzikas, dėstytojas ir kuratorius gyvena tarp Vilniaus ir Oslo, Norvegijoje. Bet bene sudėtingiausia šio amžiaus išbandymas žmonijai pasitiko mūsų šalyje. Į ją vedė gana vingiuotas kelias, prasidėjęs Londone, kai gimusi ir tėvų paliktą berniuką vos 6 savaičių įsisūnijo šeima iš Velso.
It was quite actually, I don't know how much you want to know about Wales, really. It was also quite an interesting time for me when I think of the EU and, you know, Britain's totally idiotic Brexit. I remember very well growing up in Wales before the EU, and it was very tough, actually. And of course everybody's forgotten. But the city next to ours, there were just about everybody out of work. And Wales was a very depressed place. Not anymore. So anyway, yeah, that's that, I guess. I could go on about quite a lot of experiences there. Yeah, I mean, school was even a bit violent at times, you could say. So, yeah. But I loved my childhood in Wales. It was a tremendously beautiful place. So I grew up by the ocean and mountains, the highest mountains in England and Wales. Yeah. And a very powerful culture, you know. Welsh, absolutely Welsh speaking, then a lot of people couldn't speak English, actually. So it was another time. Then I went to art college, went to Manchester, Nottingham, then near London, and then finally went to Royal College of Art in London for 2 years. I met a Norwegian girl and yeah, so after London, after I was finished with art college, I left with her. We went back, well, back for her, back to Norway, and I'm still there, really. So it's now kind of 50-50 between being in Lithuania or in Vilnius and being in Oslo.
Ianas profesionalus vizualiųjų menų kūrėjas, daugiausia naudojantis piešimo techniką, taip pat tapybos bei koliažo elementus. Pats baigęs Karališkąjį meno koledžą Londone, netrukus tapo dėstytoju. Iano meno filosofijos paskaitų klausė studentai daugybėje šalių ir universitetų, nuo gimtojo Karališkojo meno koledžo ir Goldsmito meno koledžo Londone iki Metropoliteno universiteto Osle ir Dailės akademijos Vilniuje. Kvietimų atvykti į Lietuvą sulaukė Japonijoje, Kyoto mieste, kur vedė seminarą.
I met a lot of people there, and one was a Lithuanian. It was Gelūnas, you know, Arūnas Gelūnas, and we got on well, and we started off joking, I remember very well. I remember saying something like, do you want the good news first or the bad news or something? And anyway, he invited me to come to Vilnius. It was 2008. So I came and gave some lectures. Then I was invited to chair the juries, at the academy in June. All of them. I didn't quite know what I said yes to. It was a whole week's work, and I guess that did it really. I quickly made friends here, and so I kept on coming back. Maybe twice per year. And in 2013, then I met my wife, and so then from then on then it was half-time here and half-time in Oslo from then on. I knew very little about it. I'd been to Estonia, and I don't think Estonia is particularly similar to Lithuania. Estonians are very much like Scandinavians in some way. They seem rather slow and, it's not that the Scandinavians are really slow, but they seem a bit more, what's the word I'm looking for? They don't, they're not like this, they're more, Whereas in Lithuania it's a little bit more, they're a bit more lively, I think, the people, so, But I was quite a lot, I taught in the academy in there too, in Estonia too, in Tallinn. But no, that didn't make an impression on me at all. But here, absolutely. It really did. And I was welcomed with open arms. That was, that meant a lot to me.
Ianas ne tik kuria vizualųjį meną ir muziką, dėsto bei kuruoja parodas, bet dar ir rašo. Anksčiau Lietuvoje išleidęs meno teorijos knygą Atskleidžiant kortas, bei leidybai parengęs naują veikalą Ateities prisiminimai, karantiną išnaudojo ilgą laiką brandintam kūriniui užbaigti. Tai romanas Paaukoti angelą, pasakojantis apie visuomenę, kurioje laisvė paaukojama dėl laimės.
In the COVID time I was pretty well on my own for a while, although Victoria, that's my ex-wife, she came here. And her family were very good too and looked after me a bit. But I finished a book. So I used the time. It's been a book that's been, that book has been going on for years and years. It's much easier for me to write an art philosophy book, but a novel is difficult. But I finished it. Also based a lot on philosophy. I tried to keep Lithuania out of it, almost, very little, but the next book will have some of Lithuania in it. So it's a book about the future. Not a science fiction book, but just a few years in the future, and a bit of a dystopian kind of vision. I never knew COVID was coming, so don't have me. I feel a bit scared of writing books because the book started with an explosion in Oslo, and I wrote it before, and then there was an explosion, and it was a government explosion that I wrote about, and there was one. This guy Breivik killed 70 people or more. And, so in a way, I should write positive things, I think, rather, because they tend to come true. So, I don't know what else, and I draw as well. And I write songs as well, that's pretty well. But the songs are associated with the drawing. They're kind of talking drawings.
Nors Lietuvoje Ianas jaučiasi kaip namuose, teko patirti ir nesusipratimų. Tiesa, visos istorijos baigėsi laimingai ir šiandien velsietis jas prisimena su šypsena.
Thank God, I do speak a little bit of Russian. I'm not very good at it, but I understand a lot more. I'm at that stage, but I can say things. And I was on the bus back from my friend. He lives just outside of Vilnius. or rather in Vilnius, but on the edge of it, and the bus didn't. It was the last bus, and it didn't come back to Vilnius at all. It turned off and went to a bus terminal, and I really didn't understand why. And then I looked around. I was the only person on the bus. And then the guy said something to me. I guess he must have said it more than once. He was getting a bit irritated, and I said, look, I'm English. I'm sorry, I don't understand. And then he shouted, speak Lithuanian, in English. And I thought, And I said in Russian, something like, "Можно пациента," or something I wanted, you know. And this really nasty guy stops the bus, jumps out, and bangs on a bus that's leaving, apparently the last bus to Vilnius, stops it, comes back, you know, so he transformed totally from this, you know, so thank God I could at least speak a bit of Russian. But I feel very bad that I don't speak Lithuanian, and I keep saying, and everybody says, yeah, you said it, but I will do my best to learn the language. I understand, you know, some things.
Pasaulį išmaišęs ir ne vienoje šalyje ilgėliau gyvenęs Ianas sako, kad žmonės visur daugiau ar mažiau panašus. Lietuvoje jį nustebino keli žodžiai, kurie lietuviškai skamba visai taip pat, kaip ir jo gimtąja velsiečių kalba. Šis sutapimas Ianą įkvėpė vienam, kol kas dar neįgyvendintam diplomatiniam sumanimui.
This verlege course, yeah. There are not so many, actually. Welsh is much older than English, and Welsh was there before English was ever spoken. You know, English is about 1,500 years old or something like that. And Welsh is about, I don't know, 6,000, 7,000, 8,000 years old. It's similar to the Breton in France. I speak to them, I can speak to them in Welsh and they'll understand me. But it's also actually a beautiful language, incredibly beautiful language in my mind. And I'm very proud that I speak it, even though it's threatened and I won't say dying, but yeah, it could do if we're not careful. But actually, in these cases, you have to I don't know if fight is the right word, but you have to make an effort or else it will die. I mean, here we are now speaking English. I'm the only one who doesn't speak Lithuanian. This is everyday Wales. 10 people speak Welsh, one person comes from England, and the 10 people have to change. It's not just once in a while, it's every day, non-stop. And this is killing off the language. I have an idea, actually, that I want to do. I don't know if maybe you could call it an art project, but I want to get the governments of Wales and Lithuania to agree on something. And that is that in Wales, we use the word Lithuania for your country, whereas Lietuva is very easy for Welsh people to say. So why not change, get rid of Lithuania and say Lietuva? And then I'd like Lithuania to stop calling Wales Wales, but call it by its proper name, which is Cymru, which is not tremendously difficult to say either. So that's a little project I'm going to see if I can, I don't know if I can achieve it, but yeah. I promise never to love again, I say. But I lie. I'm no longer myself. I've lost the one I love.
Velsietis menininkas ir meno filosofijos dėstytojas Ianas Damerel pirmą kartą į Lietuvą atvyko 2008-aisiais, o nuolat čia gyvena jau 8 metus. Iano sukurtas 5 metrų pločio ir 3 metrų aukščio anglies piešinys Arkton arba galva su daug minčių eksponuotas bažnyčiose ir parodų salėse Londone ir Lietuvoje, o mūsų laidos žiūrovams menininkas jį iškabino Vilniaus dailės akademijoje. Po kiekvieno viešo pasirodymo autorius darbą vis patamsina. Pradžioje minčių rezginį vaizdavęs paveikslas galiausiai liks visiškai juodas.
Well, there's a few things I don't like, not in Lithuania, but in general. And I don't particularly like this kind of cool, everybody's okay, everybody's cool, everything is, it's like, you know, Instagram world. I see that on the one hand. On the other hand, I talk to people all the time who get panic attacks or people who go to psychologists. And I think something's not quite right. And actually very, very few people say anything or even admit that they can be unhappy or sad. And I think that that is part of life. You know, if you're going to aim for the stars, you fall in the gutter every now and then. And I actually think it's good for people to know that other people can actually be sad sometimes. And not just this kind of false surface.
Kas Lietuvoje labiausiai patinka?
So I was a lot in Crimea, in Kerch actually. And also in Russia, I went to Tatarstan and all sorts of weird places, well, at least it's slightly weird to me. So when I came, the point is that when I came to Vilnius, it seemed quite Western. I suppose that's what I meant, and I felt I was home, you know. It's a first view, and yes, when I live in this bubble, which I do, which is Vilnius Old Town, I think it's a wonderful place. I know it's a bubble, but my life is too, you know. Everybody's is up to a point. So, yes, I could go outside. I mean, I have. I stayed twice recently in Pasirinkę and loved it. And it took me back to my own village life where everybody said hi to you, you know, labadien. It's really nice. And, but Vilnius Old Town, I have a lot of, I don't know, yeah, I would even say friends. Yeah, I do have.
Kuo skiriamės?
Say, you know, there are these jokes in COVID time when the Lithuanian says to the other, what, only 2 meters? You know, and that would have been perfect in Norway. That's the way Norwegians are too. They're not nasty, it's just the culture. So I'm quite used to that kind of culture. But I forget now and then, and I never forgot my Welsh culture, which is completely opposite, more like Italians or something. So we hug people and we pat people and actually we kiss people, even on the mouth. And, you know, maybe they don't anymore after COVID, but so that kind of openness can be misunderstood, yeah.
Kas Lietuvoje nepatinka?
I believe that whatever people do out of love, when they don't harm anybody else, I think that's fine. I can't understand why so many people anywhere, not just in Lithuania, why they point fingers at people when they're just happy. It's almost as if there's a human trait that let's stop that happiness somehow. And you can contrast that with the opposite. If there were tanks and troops, and this poor city has experienced more than enough of that, perhaps more than anywhere in Europe for all I know. Even this place we're staying has experienced 2 world wars. If there was troops and you know, coming up, people would, the same people who would accuse somebody of simply because they're happy would probably say, oh well, it is, you know, it's life, it's life. And I find that's probably something that saddens me, but it's not especially Lithuanian, it's the same everywhere, I think. So I wish we could be more tolerant of love and less tolerant of actually violence. But we are very tolerant of violence, so, sadly.
Ko palinkėtumėte Lietuvai ir lietuviams?
If I compare it with Wales, I say the same. We're fighting for our independence now. We don't have it. But we will soon, if we get it, we have to learn very fast to stop blaming England for everything. I think Lithuania hopefully will continue to become a power of its own. I don't mean power as a nation fighting, I don't mean that. But that they can perhaps begin to not forget, but perhaps forgive a little bit in the past. Simply that it's good for the nation to do that. And also I think there's another side we have to face here, and that is that, and I think they already have, or you already have, you plural, that the West wasn't so tremendously wonderful, you know. You see the problems in Britain, see the problems in, for example, United States, and hopefully now Lithuania can take part in changing after COVID. I think Europe will have to change, politics will have to change. We can't just think, if anybody is mad enough to think that we're going to go back just as if nothing happened, that's not going to happen, I'm convinced of that. And it's not really up to me to say much more either. I'm sure that Lithuania will manage perfectly well. They certainly seem to be. So. It's a big success story in many ways, and a miracle. So I feel actually privileged, actually, that I'm here. Maybe similar to the miracle in Wales that we still speak a language. I don't want to go into detail, but my God, England tried hard to, you know, every trick and not just tricks, very, very horrible things were done. The whole system of education was closed down to kill the language, things like that. So the miracle here, just that Lithuania actually exists as an independent nation, it's a miracle, really. I've read quite a bit of history, and you know, Poland almost, well, took pretty well half of it once, then the Germans have been here, and the Russians, you know, yeah, that's the miracle. And that you speak Lithuanian, everybody, and that it functions so well. I mean, wow, all that in such a short space of time. You know, like I told you that I don't know a lot about, but I notice little things. And when I noticed the police going up during COVID, not like in some other countries where they bullied and were horrible, where they just go up and say, well, please put your mask on, you know. And they don't find them always. I'm not saying it was always like that, and I'm not naive. I'm sure there's good and bad people here like anywhere else. But it does show that, you know, that it shows that there's something good in Lithuania, that's for sure.